everyone, and welcome back to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. Hopefully everybody had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or just a happy, I think, Monday if you don't celebrate at all. Still hoping that everybody is just having a great, wicked, Pokemon-filled time out there. My name is Sierra Dawn, joined here, of course, by my co-host, Joe Brown. I mean, over here, we're celebrating Christmas. How was your Christmas?
It was a great time, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. I know we exchanged pleasantries on the 25th, of course, 3 hours apart, but we were still celebrating it together. So I had a great time. My family and I, we went down to Atlantic City, so we packed up. We didn't take our tree with us, had our presents or whatever, and went down on Christmas Eve and celebrated Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then the next day down in Atlantic City, having a lot of fun. It was surprisingly pretty packed, honestly. Like, we were surprised how pretty much almost all the rooms were sold out. So a lot of people had the same idea. We thought we were being unique and cool. Like, let's just, for once, we never do this. Let's just go to AC for Christmas, and it looks like everyone else had the same plan. But it was a lot of fun.
I feel like you kind of half answered my question, because I know you were saying like your family goes on cruises for Thanksgiving and stuff. It always seems like for the holidays, you and your family are just out. Like, it's always a trip.
I think it makes life easier, right? Like, specifically with Thanksgiving, nobody has to host Thanksgiving, and nobody has to cook the turkey, and nobody has to invite and coordinate everybody else, and the meal when to start. 2 p.m. put the mashed potatoes on, and 2:30 put this on, and all that stuff. But the Christmas, usually this one was a completely different thing. Usually we head over to some of our relatives for Christmas, but this year we did just spice it up. So I'll give you Thanksgiving, but this was a new strategy for the Brown family on Christmas.
Right. I know my family, like, we do the whole everyone like gets together. My sister, it used to be a bit more like kind of everyone gets together and there's a lot of different people cooking and bringing things, but it's kind of gotten to the point with the family too where all my aunts and uncles have their own kids, so normally Christmas is done each individual little family now. So now my sister just cooks for all of us. We go over to her house on Christmas Eve, the Christmas morning. It's just presents. But we've started talking about the vacation strats. Like, we've talked about like, hey, maybe like somewhere sunny one year, no presents, no cooking. We're just sitting on a beach with our mimosas, enjoying the sun instead of the poor Canadian winters that we have instead. Even though we didn't even get any snow this year for West Coast. I heard out in East Coast Canada they did, but not out here. So, but no, it was good all around here. I definitely I'm sure anyone who can see on YouTube can tell, I'm still at my family's, as you can tell by my bad audio and my poor camera quality and this
everything looks great, everything sounds great. We're doing great.
This beautiful white wall. Oh, and this light that I got. It's a little cat.
Oh,
you tap it and it gets brighter. Yeah, that's about how it's going over here. But Christmas here was good. So
now let me ask you, what type of Christmas family are you? Because there's like people who open on Christmas Eve, and then people open at like 12:01 on the dot on Christmas Day, and then people that open it all in the morning, and they do like one at a time or a mad rush. Everyone opens at the same time. Like, how does your family celebrate?
So normally we're like Christmas Eve, everyone gets together for dinner, but no presents, none of that. We did end up still being all together at midnight, only because my youngest sister was still at work and didn't get off till 11. So we all stayed together till she got off work. And then it just so happened that she didn't get there till 11:30. But other than that, like, there's nothing at midnight. Like, we're all hopefully in bed at that point, sleeping.
Well, Santa's coming, so
yeah, you gotta be in bed for Santa, right? You gotta make sure you're asleep, or else he's not gonna stop by and bring presents to your house. But then Christmas morning, we get up, and then my sister, her husband will come over, and we normally open like stockings, and then my grandparents would come over. Now just my grandpa, he'll come over, and then it's like the great gift exchange. Now that like me and my sisters, like, when we were younger, of course, it wasn't morning mimosas, but now it's like, okay, morning mimosas and our coffees and open presents, and then we all have like breakfast of some sort, and then everyone kind of goes off to the significant others' families. They can't work for me because Jim Ugarte is out in New York, but everyone else will kind of just wander off during the day wherever, and then everyone else just kind of chills, does whatever. So it's a more chill time. I know some people is like all day family on the 25th, but ours isn't quite like that.
Yeah,
Still fun,
some people get a little
Still good.
over exaggerated.
I
Like
think it was froze us
I've
maybe the
never
worst
understood
time. 'Cause
the frantic.
there we
The,
go. Okay. It froze
the
for a second for me,
oh
but
no,
we're
you're good
good.
on my end. So I don't
Okay.
know. So I don't know. I've never understood the frantic like everyone all at once open everything because my family we're like a one at a timer family, right? And people like I see memes on the internet of like people making fun of that style, but like I feel like that's the most respectful way. Like, okay, little Timmy opens his present, then my mom opens her present, then I open my present, and we're all watching and we see who the present was from and stuff. Like that's the most respectful way to do it. Instead of just like and everyone's done in 4 seconds and nobody knows who got each other what and nobody said thank you for the things. Like I feel that's just way too chaotic for me.
We do like rounds of presents. So it'll be, oh, this is a gift from me. And then I'll hand out the gifts that I got for everyone. And then everyone opens up the gift from me at once. So then it's like everyone still has a moment to like kind of see what everyone else kind of got. Because realistically, it's me, my mom, and my dad, like my sister's husband, and my grandpa. So it's not really too many people. So everyone kind of opens up. Everyone's like, oh, wow. Like everyone kind of chills out for a couple of minutes. And then the next person hands out their round of gifts, which kind of, you get like kind of the best of both worlds, I feel. Because it's not like
I like
you have to
that
sit
approach.
there and wait for like 8 people to open a present before you get to open another one. But everyone still does know what everybody got each other. Still have a moment to appreciate all that. I think it's good.
I'm a fan. I think that's the way to do it. You know, they might kill us in the comments. You know, some person was like, no, like a lot of Europeans, they do like Christmas Eve is when they exchange all the presents instead of Christmas Day and stuff. I'm like, no, I think we got the system down pat.
It's just like Christmas Eve, like midnight. Like I want to be sleeping. I don't know. I'm not going to appreciate a present as much if I'm just like sitting there wishing I was in bed.
Well, to me, the difference, like for me personally, is because every Christmas Eve, and I've done this since I believe I was 16, either 15 or 16 years old. I have watched It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Eve, which it plays on NBC, but I also have like a DVD of it just so you can avoid the commercials. Because with commercials, it's like 3 hours and 20 minutes or something. So just because the NBC just wants to slam so many commercials in there because they know everybody is watching, right?
Of course,
like, so that's been my tradition for, I guess that's like 15 years now. Is every Christmas Eve I watch It's a Wonderful Life. So like, I don't want to go out to somebody else's house or something like that. You know, if I'm gonna, especially if I'm going to see them on the 25th also. Then that's the other thing. It's like, I'm seeing you tomorrow anyway. Like, give me my 3-hour stretch with George Bailey here on Christmas Eve with It's a Wonderful Life.
No, respectable. See, it's also like a couple of my family worked in like healthcare. Like my dad's like a long haul truck driver. Like people have work too, so it's realistically Christmas Eve. Someone might be working. Like I said, my one sister ended up working like 3 to 11 p.m. So if that was when we were all kind of getting together to do like more so, oh, we're gonna open presents soon. Like she would have just gotten off of work, and it's like, here's some presents in your face. Like sucks to suck, you can't relax. Whereas at least like the morning stretch on Christmas morning, normally everyone can have like the 2 hours where everyone can come together before everyone has to take off for other places. So it kind of just works out better on like that angle too. Whereas like Christmas Eve, like, hey, maybe somebody's working, so they could have gotten this one off or whatever else they wanted to do, right? But the real Christmas miracle that we got was official confirmation of what Regulation F was going to be. See that transition? That was, whew,
that was a wonderful transition.
That was good. That was good. But we know what Regulation F is officially, which is the paradoxes are legal, because that was the one that we were
format
like,
that they told us it was going to be and we expected it to be. I'm actually blown away that this has consistently happened and we still have to pretend that this is a question on Twitter every single time. I just don't get it.
I will say, I actually wasn't sure about the paradoxes because they are very limited distribution, and
so was Urshifu. Before the DLC, it was only available in Sword and Shield. That's very limited distribution.
Yes, but like, so the way that I was talking about this with a friend was, realistically, you could get Urshifu at any time. You just have to spend some money. So you can go ahead and if you never played Sword and Shield, but you needed an Urshifu now because you were wanting to go play at whatever regional, you still have the option to go and pick up a copy of Sword and Shield and then buy the DLC and spend however many hours of your time to then go get your cub food to get an Urshifu. If somebody at this point, after January 2nd, so not for Portland, not for Portland regionals, but if somebody wanted to for Charlotte regionals go out and compete and want to Walking Wake on their team, they actually have no way to get that Pokemon except for borrowing it from a friend or like sort of methods, right? So that was kind of where I thought the questioning was going to be because it was Walking Wake and Iron Leaves that are raid only. They redid a raid, but you can't catch a second one on your main, even if it's a second raid. So everyone can only get one. And if you didn't have the game or if you weren't aware of it during that raid period, you cannot get that Pokemon, which that's why I thought there was maybe this world where they weren't legal because it's unlike the pay to win. It's just like if you weren't there, you're done. You're cooked.
I think you have a trusting heart, and when you see people online talking logically like that, you're like, I can understand where they're coming from. But we've had this conversation like every single time. Like somebody tries to find some minute, ridiculous scenario of every regulation of why something shouldn't be legal. That's obviously going to be legal, and this one is definitely much more of a justifiable reason that people are upset. I understand it, but I'm just saying, every time we've had it with Regulation D and Regulation E and Regulation F, like every time somebody has said online, I can't wait till they actually tell us what the format is, when like they literally tell us what it is every single time. And like I don't get what these people are like. Remember, wasn't it like Regulation D? Was it D or was it E that people were like, oh, flying to regional without knowing what the regulation is? It's like, no, you're not. You're just willingly not listening to what they tell you.
It's always weird because it's like what makes sense 90% of the time, but then there's always a question mark that it's like, like you don't quite know. Because I think with Regulation E, what it was the starters. Because the starters didn't have dex numbers, which was then the same reasoning as to why.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, which was the same reasoning as to why Walking Wake and Iron Leaves weren't legal because they didn't have like a dex number or whatnot. So it's always weird because it's like realistically 90, even 95% of the time, it should be this way. But you know, there's going to be that one person that was like, well, I didn't think I could bring in Polion, even though you probably shouldn't bring in Polion, but I didn't know that I could bring in Polion, you know?
So, all right. So here's my opinion on this here, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on it. I don't want to like too into the weeds about everyone complaining about Walking Wake and Iron Leaves. So this is now the third time in 13 months that this raid has been distributed. I also hate that you can't catch it more than once. I don't think it makes any sense because it doesn't give people who've already caught it a reason to help their friends catch it because you can't catch it again, right? So like when they rerun like the 6 or 7-star Charizard raid and stuff, like, oh nope, you can only catch the one Charizard. It's like, well, why? Like you should be giving people incentive that every time it reruns you get like one more crack at it, right? So I don't like that Game Freak does that. However, I think the three attempted, raid events for these two Pokemon is significantly better than what we have with the legendaries and how the legendaries are distributed within this DLC. Because I think that is way more egregious that we have 9 legendaries that are version exclusive each. So 9 Scarlet and 9 Violet that like, if I want to play Latias, I am just straight up out of luck because I have Violet, right? It's the Scarlet. I believe that's the Scarlet exclusive. I don't know if it's vice versa, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's unfathomable to me that the solution to wanting to have Gouging Fire and wanting to have Raging Bull and wanting to have Latias and whatever Scarlet exclusives are, I need to play through all of Scarlet again, Not just because it's different than Urshifu. You could start at level 5. You start a
Yeah.
thing, start the storyline, go to the first town or whatever, and then go right to the Isle of Armor and get Urshifu. You got to go through all of that story, all of the the frame drops and the bad things we have to deal with the game's performance. You have to do all of the Scarlet story, all of the DLC again. I think you need to unlock or catch or have 150 Pokemon to do Perrin's first thing with the Blood Moon Ursaluna in the DLC, which then activates her second thing in the Area Zero version with her, where that's how you get the new Paradox forms, right? So all of the first DLC, all of the second DLC again, and then I gotta do the barbecues, as we like to call them, the BBQs, and stack up a million quests of catching Pokemon or hitting them when they're not looking or making a sour sandwich. All of those hours compared to the 5 minutes it takes to do an Iron Leaves raid. I think I'll take the 5 minutes of the Iron Leaves raid, personally.
First off, again, with the barbecues, you are throwing. I can AFK in a barbecue when my friends do all of the work, and within like 10-20 minutes, I'm getting thousands of BP on this game because it is broken. And for anyone out there who is sitting there like, wow, but I don't have friends who play the game, we have a barbecue section in the Discord. And you especially, Joe Brown, have no excuses because there's the barbecue section in the Discord, and I invited you to a server.
No, I know. I didn't play Pokemon at all during like the Christmas break, so that's on me.
Okay, because barbecues. I do agree with the rest of that though I feel like I'm more upset about it in terms of like the gouging fire, the raging bolt, the violet ones, whatever, because of the fact that you can only get one version exclusive. But since they're still brand new, nobody's like trading them away. Something like a Latias, I can open up Pokemon Go. I mean, this is with so many of these like legendaries. I can open up Pokemon Go and I have probably like 20 of them. And I'm not the only one. So even if I don't have the version that allows me to get Latias, I can find a legitimate Latias trade out there from someone who's actually willing to trade one away for something, because people have extras. There is actually more out there. But people have reached out to me for my Raging Bolt, my Gouging Fire, wanting to trade. Why would I trade them? I've no shot at getting another one unless I want to play through this entire game and do all of this work. But if I did that, it would be for a second one for myself so I can create a second team. I feel like that is so rough in like the sense of competitive, because I would never trade those Pokemon, right? It's unfortunate that I have both copies of the game, but I'm never going to give up any of those Pokemon, and I can't even lend them out because there's a good chance that I'm actually going to want to run one of those. So those are the ones that actually do kind of grind my gears a little bit, whereas something like the Latias, it's like, I could understand it being annoying. It's just like not impossible.
It's just a lot is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like 9 version exclusives, including like I have the list up here. So I'm a Violet player, right? So just for existing, I miss out on the Legendary Beast trio. Like, my bad. I guess I should have had the foresight 2 years ago when I decided.
You did pick up the worst of the 2 versions. I mean, you could have seen the paradoxes, and you should have known from that.
Yeah, so Suikunente Raikou, just off the jump, not available. Solgaleo, Reshiram, Glastrier, when the GS Cup comes back. That might be a big deal that I don't have access to them. Ho-Oh and Latios. Latios might be okay. Groudon, kind of a big deal that I can't get a Groudon in my game. So it's like, this is, I don't know, like, sure, is Walking Awake and Iron Leaves annoying that they are event exclusive? Sure. But I'd rather that than having to replay all of Scarlet just to get these Pokemon that should be available. Like, you should have, if you wanted the paradoxes to be exclusive, I think that makes sense, because in Violet there is no past paradox Pokemon, so like that's why Gouging Fire and Walking Awake and them are exclusive to them. But there's no reason that Groudon is Scarlet exclusive besides him being red, or Ho-Oh being red. Oh, also, by the way, in Violet I do get Latias, so I don't care. So you're the one in trouble. Because
Yeah, I'm in
Latios.
so much trouble with
Okay,
all of
but not.
these
First of all, I
disposable
play Go.
Pokemon that I have.
I play Go. I don't have a bunch of legendaries because
Would
again, I
you
didn't have friends and I didn't
like
do a
Kyle?
million legendary raids. Right, so like just saying, so you saying just do Go, bro, is like the same as someone else saying like, oh, you should have played when the Walking Wake event was on, bro. Like that's the same thing to me.
Would you like a Reshiram? Because I got a lot of Reshirams. There's
Did you like
shinies in there
actually
too.
waste human money, human dollars on catching Reshiram's and Go?
How
Like,
is
did you
that any
spend money
different
on
than
raids?
buying a Pokemon game and the DLC? That
No,
gets you
but I'm
one
saying it's a
legendary.
one-time purchase.
I'm saying yeah, but per raid pass, these were back when they were like $1 each. Now instead of the $100 on one game, one legendary, I now have like 100 Reshiram. Like I'm set. I'm good.
You're ready for regulation. I don't know, J or
It's
K
not a
or
good
L,
Pokemon,
whatever
but
they
we
come
want to look at
around.
these Kirams because I got Kirams. Oh, Xerneas, yeah. Yveltal, this is a good one. We got.
Okay, well, I
Oh, that's
literally
just
have
out of the way.
one Latias, one Latios. Like, I have one of legendaries because, like, I don't play with friends in Go, and like, I try my hardest just to get one legendary when
They,
each event is going on.
they don't stop. I got so many Yveltals. Does anyone need an Yveltal? I probably have you covered.
No, I need a Groudon, which I think I only have like 2 Groudons in my Go account.
I want to see how many Yveltals I have now. How many did I have? Oh, it won't tell me.
And like, if we're talking about how inefficient the experience is for the player who's just playing this game, then Go also doesn't count because then the solution has to go and borrow one of Sierra's Reshiram, sure. But if you don't have that option, then your only other solution is to play through all of Scarlet again, play through the first DLC and get 150 in the Pokedex, and then play through the second one and get all the snacks from the barbecue and everything. Like, so if you're not friends with Sierra, you're screwed.
Should be my friend then. I don't know, but see, I just think personally. So maybe it's just because it's a little like jaded and like having to like get these Pokemon and it just being like I understand there's these effort needing to be made, but it's like the ones that you can still reasonably get, whether it's like trade, you still have access then to a game, and that there's because it is a trading game as well where you can actually get it. Like Boohoo, you don't have a Groudon. That's been out for like what 20 years now through how many copies of the game. There's going to be somebody who out there who has a Groudon, so maybe you can't catch one personally. But if we were to roll up to an event and you're like, oh man, I need a Groudon, I'm willing to bet there'd be like a dozen people on the spot that could probably trade you one if they are not running it on their own team. Whereas then the Walking Wake, the Iron Leaves, the Gouging Fire, because it's brand new and you're not going to have people that actually have extras to trade, that's the one that kind of like, because it's like, I definitely understand for newer people getting into the game, it's difficult, but there is also people that do have these extra Pokemon. They're not going to have that option for the Scarlet Violet ones, which is the frustrating. So I feel like
Then
they're both
I say,
justified frustrations, but
I
just
say,
different
okay,
ends.
Boohoo, go play XD Gale of Darkness and go get your version exclusive and bring it all the way up like they did back in Gen 5 with I think that's how the Follow Me Magmar. I think you had to get it from Gale of Darkness and bring it all the way up or something. Or like there was like a version exclusive DS game that had a Heatran with a special move that was the only way to get it into Black and White. I think I forget what it was, but it might have been Black and White. It might have been Gen 4. I can't remember what event it was, but like there was literally you had to play a whole other game to get this very meta relevant version of Heatran, right? So like I could say, Boohoo, go play XD Darkness, like, and that's not a satisfying answer.
I'm not, and I'm not saying that you're not wrong for your justifications. I'm just saying why, for me, the Iron Leaves, Walking Wake, Gouging Fire is more on the I'm upset about this, as opposed to here for the other ones, because I think that you can reasonably get the other ones, and it's not the end of the world. It's frustrating, but man, like, you want a Walking Wake, you better hope that your friends ain't running it if you don't have your own, or else you're not running Walking Wake. Like, simple as that.
And the other thing I don't understand with the version exclusives is like, so Raikou, Entei, Suicune, and then Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, they're in the version of the game with their future or past versions. But shouldn't it be the other way around? Because then if the legendary beasts were Violet exclusive, then the only versions of them in Scarlet are the Paradox versions of Gouging Fire, Walking Wake, and Raging Bull. So, like, why do I have Gouging Fire and Entei? Didn't Gouging Fire turn into Entei? Like, shouldn't Entei be Violet exclusive and Terrakion be Scarlet exclusive? Because why do I have Terrakion and Iron Boulder in the same game? Like, didn't the Terrakions turn into Iron Boulder?
But you're getting the one from the future or the past. So like it actually makes more sense that they are in the same version because the one can't exist without the other. It's like Iron Bundle would not exist if Delibird didn't exist because it is that Paradox Pokemon. That is that form.
Yeah, keep the future Iron Crown, Iron Boulder, and Iron Leaves, keep them in Violet, but I'm saying that the original should be in Scarlet.
No, I think that the originals being in the same one as them makes sense, because then what are they going to be based off of? What did they evolve from if those Pokemon aren't in the game? Nothing. Like, you need that paradox. That's where it's all around. Iron Leaves cannot exist without Virizion existing, because Virizion existing, it's like, it goes around. That's why it exists.
I guess we're gonna disagree on the framing of it. We're not like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, like, when we go down to Area Zero, which is not a part of our time, right? It's like its own weird, funky thing with the professor, and he's time traveling and whatever. Like, I just see that as an opportunity to have it neatly switched on, the
But
exclusives.
then what are they based off of?
But wait, not every is it true that every Paradox Pokemon is the original form is a Scarlet or Violet exclusive? Is that true?
I don't know. Yeah, but I think so, because you're saying the legendary dog, the legendary beast.
No, I know. So I'm saying, like, Roaring Moon and Iron Bundle and Donphan or Great Touch for Don, like, they can't all be version exclusives, right?
No, but like they don't like not exist in the game that they're already existing in. So like Delibird's in both, but it's not that Delibird only exists in Scarlet and it doesn't in Violet, because then that would make no sense.
But if Delibird is in both, then it becomes irrelevant if only one version has a future Delibird.
No, because in the Scarlet timeline, this Violet Paradox Worth isn't the thing. Because the Scarlet is
right.
You're
like
talking
what I'm saying.
They're different timelines.
Right. And what I'm saying is, in my timeline, which is Violet, we should have Entei Suicune and Raikou, because in my timeline that's where they stopped. Or that's where they evolved to, I should say. But then the other way around, Terrakion should be in Violet, because in Violet that's where it stopped.
No, that's where it stopped, but where did it begin? Because the whole
Delibird's in both versions. So Delibird is in Scarlet, and it stopped as a Delibird.
To exist in Violet for there to be Iron Bundle that exists in Violet. But the whole thing with these Time Machine Pokemons and the entries and all of this is that they're based off of a Pokemon that is in the current time. So you have to have these legendary beasts that occur in our current time for there to be a prehistoric form that they then evolved into, or that existed in a different timeline than ours. They have to both coexist in this same sort of realm, or else it doesn't make sense that one exists and not the other.
But it already doesn't work that way, because of the base paradoxes in the game don't work the same way.
Delibird exists in Violet just because it exists in Scarlet. But in Scarlet, this whole Violet universe, it doesn't match up on the timeline because you have Sada and all the past obsession, not Toro with the future obsession. You can have the one bird that can exist in both timelines, but I'm saying it doesn't exist in the Violet timeline if it doesn't exist in the base game, because then what's Iron Bundle based off of?
Well,
nothing.
I don't know how deep we want to go, because we've been going pretty deep on this. I think the audience is actually pretty invested at this point. Actually, I think maybe most people think we've been talking in circles, but I do think some people are actually really in the minutia of this, because technically, Gouging Fire and them boys do exist in Violet in Area Zero Part 2 DLC, whatever it's called, because they're in my Pokedex that I have to complete. So they do exist in my timeline.
But then that's fine. But you can't, like, we're talking about the fact that you're saying that
So
you
where
shouldn't
does
have...
life begin? Where does life end here? What counts as exclusive? If
Well,
I
that's
need
just
a
the whole,
gouging
like...
fire to complete my Pokedex, yet it doesn't exist in Violet, it then has to exist in Violet because it's in my Pokedex.
But what I'm saying is, because I think that's just like a flaw if you're looking at this whole paradox thing with like the whole Pokemon trading system. Also, whatever, it's weird because you get that exclusive things for all past games. But I'm saying the base one that it exists off of should exist in the same game as where the paradox is, whether it's the past or the present, like the past or the future one. So the legendary beasts should be the exclusives of the same game that you have the Raging Bolt, Gouging Fire, Walking Wake, because that is what they were in the past or the other timeline, whatever. That is the paradox they're based off of. It doesn't make sense if those Pokemon do not exist in that same one.
And so we understand your argument. Everyone understands my position as well. I think it should be swapped around, and we're gonna let the audience decide. Hopefully, someone in the comments can let us know
I
whose
hope that you
position
get
they prefer.
absolutely clowned in the comments for that. That is so bad. They should.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I will stand firm. I don't even, I hope the OHKO truthers in the comment section have my back here.
I feel like this is where,
because as we proved, they're in both Pokedexes, so you can't say it doesn't exist because they're in both Pokedexes.
This is where people can understand how we can argue about the dumbest thing after a regional event because we're just both going in circles because neither of us will change our minds, and we keep just trying to reiterate our point and it's not getting across because we're both like, yeah, but like I'm still right, and yeah. Throwback to the
OHKO truthers, they got us.
Throwback to that one video, the greatest comeback whatever video.
Oh my god! Please do not. Please go to the next conversation before I blow it.
Yeah, that is always the worst one. But
you know when that was? That was in Portland, where we're going next to. It's gonna be a lot colder. We might not be outside yelling at each other.
You have to like reiterate too. Yelling at each other sounds like we're actually like pissed off. Like
no, just
mad.
We talk loud. We're passionate people.
Or heated debates. We would all also just not be good at debates because we're just both still arguing at the same point over and over. But maybe we'll go off of the conversation of the whole paradox conundrum thingy, but we're going to stay on the conversation of the paradox Pokemon because wanted to talk about kind of the viabilities that we thought they would have going on forward because as we know, they actually are legal in Regulation F.
So where do you want to start? You want to start with the prehistoric trio and then go to the future ones? Or I feel like that's what more people are interested in.
They are the cooler ones.
I would agree.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
So we're gonna run through. Me and Sarah, we're gonna run through for anybody who hasn't been testing a Regulation F yet, playing online or anything. These 6 new Paradox Pokemon and their viability, and give you some suggestions for if you're trying to start a team and where to start with Pokemon. So let's start with Mr. Walking Wake himself. The water dragon typing, excellent typing, is your only weak to dragon and fairy. So it's a really surprisingly strong defensive typing, except the fact that Fluttermane exists. And the big standout stats are 125 special attack and 109 speed. So I don't know if have you played around with Walking Wake at all?
I did. So originally my first thought with Walking Wake, because I thought this actually kind of fulfilled a pretty cool niche. Walking Wake gets an exclusive move. Wow, I can't talk. Called Hydro Steam, which is a water type move, 80 base power, 100% accuracy, that actually gets a 50% damage boost in the sun as opposed to anything else that is reduction. So the first thing I did was throw Walking Wake with this Hydro Steam onto a sun team. First off, full disclosure, I might be the worst team builder out there imaginable. I'm just It doesn't click for me. I am terribly bad at it. I play dumb ideas, and when I try and team build seriously, it just doesn't work. So I threw this on a Sun team. I tried using Torkoal as a Sun setter, and Torkoal just got absolutely wrecked to pieces by everything. But then I felt weird because then the whole point of this team was to build around the Sun, but then I had to bring this dead weight Pokemon, so then Walking Wake kind of wasn't doing much, which kind of was a little bit rough. So that's kind of where things are at. I also just, I don't know, a lot of times I still felt that Urshifu Water just kind of felt better as a water Pokemon hitter, that the Walking Wake just kind of felt a little underwhelming. Plus, like, the fact that you do have your photosynthesis as an ability, it was nice that you got to have that activated by the Sun, but if you didn't, you just had this dead use ability unless you wanted to run booster energy, but then, oh my gosh, you're taking your booster energy from your Flutter or from your anything else.
Right.
So it just kind of seemed a little clunky, which take that as you will. Like I said, not a great
I would agree.
team
I would
builder.
agree with you that Walking Wake certainly has potential, but it also feels like it's like just missing in some areas, like that 109 speed that ties it with some other Pokemon. And it's actually funny, if you go timid and max out your speed and your special attack, you actually tie your two stats, which is the break would go to the special attack there and the photosynthesis that scenario. So I don't know if they did that on purpose to let people run max speed but still get a special attack boost off of photosynthesis. That's pretty neat. But it's one of those Pokemon that's just like, it's almost there for me. First of all, everyone and their mother is running Draco Meteor, so the defensive typing doesn't actually help because you're a dragon. And even though it looks kind of bulky, it's still not taking those hits as well as I would like. When in my practice, at least, I'm still getting one shot even when I Terra out of it, out of the dragon typing. I'm still getting one shot by things.
Yeah.
I think we can say, I think if you don't want to be on a Sun team, Booster Energy is the way, and we can just generally say Booster Energy is relatively viable on most of these 6 new Pokemon. Maybe not all of them, but certainly Walking Wake, if you're not on a Sun team, Booster Energy makes the most sense. And I would do like Hydro Steam, Flamethrower, Draco Meteor, Protect. The other option I'd really like to see people try, if they can make a bulkier version of it, is it gets Snarl. So you go Assault Vest, try to be bulky, and just snarl things down because you're super fast with that 109 speed. But if you're on a Sun team, like, maybe try out Ninetales instead of Torkoal, just because your speed tiers are so out of
Ninetales
whack.
so
Like,
bad.
if you're worried about Torkoal like getting one shot, at least Ninetales can like Will-O-Wisp something. It's faster than Iron Leaves. It's faster than Urshifu. Like, there are some supportive things. If like, Torkoal's not going to be a damage anyway, like, at least let Ninetales, who moves fast, go. And then maybe if you are going to have Torkoal, maybe put Hisui and Lilligant on there with the after you strats and stuff. So, yeah, Walking Wake seems to be the most versatile of these 6, but it also feels like it's like just missing something. I don't know what.
See, when I'm looking at like the potential of a more supportive set, I'd rather just go to Suicune that just naturally has better bulk. Sure, it's not as fast, but if you can't kill it, then what does it really matter? Plus, I don't think Walking Wake has access to Tailwind, which actually is a really nice option on Suicune to be able to have an option to set the speed without actually needing to hard commit your team to it. It's just kind of like pass a turn ahead, let me set up the speed. And I think it's just all around nicer as a kind of supportive Pokemon, where you're not really gonna have to like, I mean, you have 115 like special defense and 115 defense on the Suicune. Walking Wake is 91 and 83. Like, it's just so I don't know.
That's what the Assault Vest was for.
Yeah, it just still feels bad. I also just hate having Dragon and Fairy weakness, because I don't feel like it offers enough as a Dragon type to actually be in that position, because we are having a lot more Dragon types kind of reintroduced into things. We have the Laddies, of course, Fluttermane's still around. You have Regidrago, so there's still so many things that can kind of hit into it. And with Pokemon like Regidrago or Terraing into a Dragon type with another, you have that when you know there's not this Flutter opposing you, or you know you're going to get enough offensive capabilities with this dragon type that it's worth it. But in terms of like the walking wake, it never feels good enough to commit the Terra to, but I always just feel super kind of left out to dry with the typing that it has, that it just doesn't feel good for the type of Pokemon that it is.
And it could technically be on a sun or a rain team, right? As a water type with the Hydros team.
Or both.
I've seen it. Right, I have seen, people with the Tornadus that has Rain Dance and Sunny Day on it, for depending on the Jody Classic there.
I was just going to do the whole chaotic, here's a Torkoal and a Pelipper. Which one am I going to bring?
Right, exactly. So let's close off the Walking Wake discussion. Would you say it is more viable than Suicune? We'll go through for all 6 of them. We'll say which version is actually better. I would say Walking Wake is more viable than Suicune. I think Suicune's speed is kind of low. It's really bad taunt fodder because it's so slow, and it's not Prankster for the Tailwind. If you don't get a bunch of Calm Mind set up, it's not going to do a lot of damage. So I think Walking Wake is better.
Well, I'll keep it interesting. I'll say Suicune. I think, too, when you have a format that has more Intimidators, lets kind of things slow down, I feel maybe early format, we might see more Walking Wake as people are experimenting as well. Early format is always the more, it's the offensive capabilities, but this format will last for 4 months. And I do think, especially with Gladius and a couple of other Pokemon, that things will kind of slow down to where Suicune with that bulk could be good. So.
All right, let's go on to the next one, the Raikou equivalent in Raging Bolt.
Yeah.
Electric Dragon. I think you and I are probably going to agree Raging Bolt is the best of these 6 Pokemon Paradox that have been introduced. Would you agree? The most viable in VGC?
And the coolest looking.
Yes, frankly. And the coolest looking for sure. So its stats are actually pretty bonkers. 125 HP, 137 special attack, so it's actually stronger than Fluttermane. 91 and 89 in its defenses, and 75 speed does not matter because it has Thunderclap, which is an electric special attacking Sucker Punch. So you don't need to invest in your speed at all. Just go straight into special attack and HP, and you can still do a lot of damage with this thing.
I'm not going to lie, when I was using Raging Bolt, I was actually using Raging Bolt on the same team as the Walking Wake. I feel like that's maybe why the whole, weak to Fairy, weak to Dragon is so, to me, because I definitely did build a team that was pretty weak to that overall. But with this Raging Bolt, I just got thunderclapped, frankly. It did not work out well for me. That was more of a me issue, because, this thing can definitely be doing some damage, and being able to have this priority, just the thunder equivalent, the electric equivalent of Sucker Punch, I just think is super, super cool. I'm curious how more people are going to be building around it. I just did a really, really bad set, but I think this is so much potential, and it's really, really cool to see that they didn't just absolutely screw over what was actually a really cool design.
Yeah, and then for the items, so obviously boost energy, like we said, just boost out your special attack, as we mentioned, stronger than Fluttermane, so you can get even stronger than that. The other options are Assault Vest and Snarl in that 4th slot, like I mentioned with Walking Wake. I think Raging Bolt makes more sense there to be an Assault Vest Pokemon, because it's its defenses are fine, but since its HP is so high, if you can Intimidate helps you defensively, but then Assault Vest helps you on the other end. And then the other one that I think could also work is Leftovers Calm Mind. But the issue with that version, a lot of times people are running Thunderbolt, Thunderclap, Calm Mind, Protect, and then it's like, okay, well, if a ground type just ever existed in your face, you just don't have
You're done.
an attack. And then then I'll do Thunderclap Draco and Calm Mind. It's like, okay, well then if you ever click Draco, then now your Thunderclap is doing no damage. So if you are going to Calm Mind, I think Dragon Pulse probably makes more sense instead of the Draco, so you don't have to keep resetting up your special attack. But this is definitely the most viable, the most items and movesets. Like the world's your oyster with Raging Bolt. I also like Terra Fairy. I don't know what Terra version you like. Terra Electric, maybe?
I did Terra Fairy on it. I feel like that's just nice to be able to get rid of the weaknesses, because this one has significantly more weaknesses than the Walking Wake, considering you're also weak to ground and ice. But being able to then turn into fairy, you get rid of those, and then all of a sudden dragon's immune, which I kind of really like. I will say with the Combine version, I do think I do just like Dragon Pulse better because honestly, your special attack is so insane that one special attack boost and you're dealing some damage and being able to have a stab attack. I think you're fine to not have Draco Meteor. I don't know. Like, I think that's just overkill. I think you're good.
Yeah, I would agree. So, and then I imagine we both agree that Raging Bolt is more viable than Raikou is.
Yeah, the really funny thing when I look up the Pokemon, it does call out. It appears to be an ancient relative of Raikou, insisting that it has to exist in the same game. Checkmate. All right, keep going. Yeah, definitely better than Raikou.
It's I love the attempt, but we already determined it exists in both versions because they're in both Pokédexes. So,
but if it can't exist without, so
it doesn't make any sense.
Just saying.
You just like checkmated and we're playing Jenga, and like you just throw a chess piece out of somewhere. It's like we're not even playing the same game, and you call checkmate.
Checkmated, and it's just checkers.
All right, let's go off to Gouging Fire, the Entei Paradox version. So, Fire Dragon, which is a great typing because Fluttermane is only neutral. So, you do pick up some weaknesses, unfortunately, in Ground and Rock. And then Ice is also neutral. So, you're weak to Ground, Rock, and Dragon, which is pretty good. Water also being neutral is great in a format with Urshifu. So, this Pokemon, I think, has a lot of potential, not as much as Raging Bolt. But Gouging Fire, 105 attack, 115 attack, 105 HP, 115 attack, and 121 defense. Those are really nice. Its only low stat is special attack, which doesn't matter. Like, every other stat is actually pretty solid here. So you can go Assault Vest, you can go Dragon Dance and boost up your speed, you can go Choice Band and go towards your attack. You can go a bulky defensive version of it too. Like, this, I feel like Gouging Fire has a lot of versatility.
My least favorite thing about Gouging Fire is looking over at the stats. The special defense, like, its defense is 121. Like, its defense is bonkers, and its HP is pretty high. It's got a pretty good attack. It just, like, I want to put an Assault Vest on it so bad. And then its special exclusive move is basically a Fire Protect. So it's pretty cool.
Burn, a Will-O-Wisp, and Protect on the same thing. Yeah.
So it's called Burning Bulwark, which is an interesting name. I'm gonna love saying that while casting. But I think that is, like, so cool. If you make contact with it, then it burns you. But then I can't run that if I want to run an Assault Vest on it. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Assault Vest is it's screaming at us to run Assault Vest on this Pokemon because it has a massive move pool. Like, obviously you do Flare Blitz and Dragon Claw, but the new move Temper Flare, which is a fire stomping tantrum, which, by the way, it also gets stomping tantrum. So, like, there are a lot of really good things. Heat Crash, if you wanted to, just looking through Psychic Fangs, even Terra Blast if you want to go for whatever Terra typing. I haven't figured out what Terra typing I like best on it yet. I don't know if you've dabbled in its Terra typing at all.
I have not, no. So I actually haven't tried anything with this Pokemon yet, though definitely have a couple of ideas. I actually missed this when I looked through it before, but it has Fire type Outrage.
Yeah.
Which is super, super dope. So that's a lot of damage, because Outrage, we've gotten to see how much damage that can do. And we also have seen those heartbreak moments when all of a sudden that gets targeted into a fairy type and it does absolutely nothing. So this not actually having that
can stop this, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of cute. So I'm getting some team building ideas.
Yeah, right, you can do Choice Band, you can do Assault Vest, you can do Life Orb, you can do Booster Energy if you want to get that Bulwark, whatever you called it, the new Protect that it has. Like, there's like, I'd love to see how a Dragon Dance set could work. Like put Clefairy next to it, so it takes a little bit less damage, and you go Dragon Dance and Dragon Dance Flare Blitz, so you just like rock everything. Like,
Nah, you do. This is the set. This is the set.
okay,
If you can possibly get like booster speed or something, like go for it. You protect first turn, Dragon Cheer, and then you just go and hit your Fire Outrage. What is it called again? Raging Fire? Raging Fury, sorry. You just hit your Raging Fury with your increased crit chance. Or wait, does that only work for Dragon type moves, not Dragon type Pokemon? I forget how it works.
No. It increases your crit chance as
as a
just
Pokemon
inherently on the Pokemon.
Sweet. Then
So
yeah,
it does
so
work,
you're
yeah.
hitting 120 base power move, super fast with an increased chance to crit. I'm just saying that sounds pretty cool.
That's pretty hype. You also put it next to the Chien Pao, right? Which is the other way to make it even stronger. And it's actually very feasible to get a excuse me, to get a speed boost energy. It's actually not that hard. If you go excuse me, if you go with a Jolly Nature. So the next question on Gouging Fire is it better than Entei? Because this is the first time I am going to deviate, and I think Entei is not just better, but sizably better than Gouging Fire.
This one's interesting because I don't disagree that Entei is super strong. I feel like the thing is both of them might be able to fulfill different roles and still have success, but it depends on what you consider that success. I think Entei is a lot more well-rounded to where it's going to be a splashable on a lot of teams, which then you can then say that there is that success because it is a high usage Pokemon that is really strong, hence why it's used everywhere. I think Gouging Fire, if you're looking at what is like the stronger Pokemon per like what it can do, I think it'll be extremely strong on the teams that it's on, but you're going to be building around it. That's going to be a Pokemon that is a focal point and is going to be not as splashable. So maybe it'll have a high impact. Maybe there's going to be a team archetype around this Gouging Fire that will be super good, but it's just not going to be everywhere like Entei will.
Okay, so let's say Portland. Portland's coming up. Which version has a higher usage day one? Entei or Gouging Fire?
Cool, Entei, just because nobody will be able to get a Gouging Fire.
Only half the people,
if you picked up Violet, like, I hope you didn't want to use this Pokemon. Only
half the players have access to Gouging Fire, yeah.
There's going to be people using Entei that wish it was a Gouging Fire, not realizing that Entei is also just really good.
Well, it's really good. Like, I saw Joe Garte top cut an event where he just took Riley's 6 and took Ogerpon Hearthflame and turned it into Entei, and it worked out because Entei, it's like a new Ogerpon or it's a new Arcanine. Because of Inner Focus, it can't be intimidated and it can't be faked out. So it literally doesn't care a single iota about Incineroar. Those are like the two most important things that would have stopped it in the past. And you have a really high attack stat, so you can go for the Choice Band Terra Normal Extreme Speed strategy next to Chien Pao, just like you would have with Hisuian Arcanine or with Dragonite. But being just a mono fire Pokemon it helps better because you're not weak to as many things as like being 4 times weak to water in an Urshifu format that Hisuian Arcanine did. So yeah, I would definitely expect Entei to be higher. Like, the other thing that's really nice, let me look. Hold on. Okay, so this is the one thing holding back Entei that Gouging Fire I will give credit to, has Howl, which Howl boosts both you and your teammates' attack by 1 stat. If Entei had Howl, oh dear lord, it would be through the roof, the usage that you could have next to all of these other Pokemon. But that's another thing that Gouging Fire does have over it, is Howl.
I don't know if like the Howl will like make a difference in terms of Gouging Fire having it, but I do think if Entei had access, that would just be bonkers. Yeah,
because you could have Howl, Will-O-Wisp, or you could still do Sacred Fire if you wanted, which has the 50% chance to burn, Stomping Tantrum, Extreme Speed, the Stone Edge. Like, there's so many great things that Entei has. So, all right, cool. Let's move to the second half here. The Violet exclusives for Iron Leaves, Iron Boulder, and Iron Crown. So Iron Leaves has been around the longest, right? With these Walking Wake events finally going to be legal. has a grass psychic typing. So the old paradoxes all share dragon. These future paradoxes all share psychic as their typing. So grass psychic, not a great typing.
Absolutely
Four
not.
times weak to bug, weak to ghost, weak to dark, weak to fire, weak to flying, weak to ice. Like, kind of. I didn't even get to his stats yet, and we're already into a bad start.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I just imagine this big bad Iron Leaves going out and getting absolutely bonked by an Amoonguss Pollen Puff with that 4 times weakness. Like, it is actually just kind of insane.
Or
Like,
Incineroar U-turn or Rillaboom U-turn.
yeah, and like its defense is pretty yikes. So like a U-turn from Incineroar or Rillaboom is actually going to be pretty significant up against it, and it has like a pretty high attack, but I just am not already with what it's weak to. Yes, I know that you can Terra out of it, but I just don't think it's necessarily impactful enough to where it's like, ooh, I want to, and I don't really care for psychic typing right now. If I wanted to use a psychic type, I would use Ice Spam. Other than that, I don't really care.
Right. So that 130 attack, 108 special defense, and 104 speed. That 104 speed does allow it to outspeed Iron Crown, it outspeeds Urshifu, it outspeeds some other things that are in that area, right? So you have some benefit. It outspeeds Landorus Incarnate, which is going to be a really important Pokemon to get used to learning the speed tiers in Regulation F. So that 104 is good. I think you could probably go boost energy just like we said and everything. But my recommendation would definitely be the Assault Vest version because 108 special defense is really nice. So if you can boost that up and make it even better, like you just want to click attacks anyway. Like on this Pokemon, I don't really think it wants to set up. Iron Leaves might get better when Miraidon and Koraidon are legal because Psyblade does more damage when electric terrain is on the field. So maybe when Tapu Koko or the two, legendaries come in and electric terrain is more common. If you've done the raid, I just did the raid today, like Psyblade in electric terrain can actually kind of one-shot you. It's actually a really strong move. So I would run Assault Vest, Sacred Sword, Psyblade, Leaf Blade, and Terra Blast. Right now I have Terra Fairy. I don't know if I'm thinking maybe like Terra Ghost or something else, but I just think the Terra Fairy kind of it's just like a strong neutral typing.
Maybe I'm just a hater, but I'm just still I hate Pokemon that you have to Terra out of a bad type for them.
Yeah.
Because then it's very limited with what you're doing. And when I'm looking at like an Assault Vest for this, I'm just like, why would I not give it to a better Assault Vest grass Pokemon like Rillaboom, where I'm going to get a Fake Out capability, I get the U-turn, I get Grassy Terrain, and a priority move. Oh my goodness. And a Pokemon that's not going to absolutely crumble the bug. Like, it's hard for me to kind of just see why you would kind of build around this as opposed, especially since it's going to be the same like niche as physical grass attacker. But I think just Rillaboom is just better in every way, to where even looking at the moves that it has, it's not anything that could really kind of justify it or save it for me. I guess Ally Switch is just kind of funny, goofy. But...
And again, so I was going to say the other way is you can make it supportive, but then again, if you want a supportive grass type, you can use Whimsicott or Amoonguss. But you could try a speed booster Iron Leaves with Ally Switch and coaching and helping hand, and there's a taunt, also having a really fast taunt that's not it'd be nice to like taunt dark types since you don't have Prankster. Like there are some supportive techs on this Pokemon. It's just I don't know why you would use it even over the other two iron Pokemon, the other paradoxes. I think they're better. But now we have like a really weird question of is Iron Leaves better than Virizion? Because like we're kind of saying neither are good. So how do we determine this?
I was willing to say that there could be nothing worse than Iron Leaves, and then I went and refreshed myself on Virizion's weaknesses. Being a grass fighting type, 4 times weak to flying, 2 times to poison, 2 times to fire, 2 times to psychic, 2 times to ice, 2 times to fairy. Like it is just so unbelievably yikes. Its special defense is crazy, but then its defense is even worse. So if I could just do a dead last tie, like
here's the difference. I think they're both bad. However, Virizion cannot use booster energy, right? At least Iron Leaves, in theory, can use booster energy to boost a stat. So that's what I would think would give it. It's also not weak to Fluttermane. Well, kind of. It's weak to the Shadow Ball, but most of them just click Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast anyway. But it's not weak to Fairy, I should say. So I think Iron Leaves, just because of being able to use booster energy, or when Tapu Koko comes back and having a really strong side blade, like, I would give it the benefit over Virizion.
It's like, wow, these are still like the last two things I'd pick out at the buffet. Like, I'd actually have to, like, it's actually just so unbelievably bad. But the fact that for Virizion, with Justified and like a really lackluster attack, that you actually have to set up and be playing for one strategy, as opposed to the Iron Leaves, which technically, since it already has a high attack stat, you don't have to be setting it up. It'll be the second last thing I pick at the buffet.
They're both still the last two picks at Dodgeball, though. You know, it doesn't matter either way.
But I'd pick Iron Leaves before I pick Virizion, but I would not be happy about that choice.
All right, so let's move on to Iron Boulder, the future version of Terrakion. Terrakion's one of my favorite Pokemon, both of all time, and Pokemon I've used competitively before. So it is Rock Psychic, which used to be the Lunatone and Soul Rock typing. Now Iron Boulder gets into that typing. 120 attack, 108 special defense, and 124 speed. So there's a lot of potential with Iron Boulder with that 124 speed. I kind of wish the 108 special defense was swapped with his defense. Maybe that would have helped this a little bit better. But crucially, Iron Boulder does not get Rock Slide. And I think a lot of people are really upset about that, myself included. But then again, I understand Game Freak saying we don't want 124 speed, booster energy, Rock Slides. So they made up for it with Mighty Cleave, which is a single target 95 base power rock move that always bypasses Protect. So you can't Rock Slide, but your opponent cannot protect themselves from Mighty Cleave. So that is the trade-off.
Which I think is insane, because it's a 95 power attack. That actually is a lot of damage for bypassing attack, especially Protect, especially with that speed. So you can actually just take something out, which
not even the 95 attack is great. The 100% accuracy
also
on a rock move, it just doesn't exist, and we finally have it.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I can see how that's going to be super, super annoying to start things out. Being able to get access to quite a few strong attacks too, even if not quite stabs. Looking at things like Earthquake, if you're up to against something that you want to levitate on, we have quite a few of those. Like, it has a couple of strong attacks. It doesn't have like the deepest move pool to where you're going to be able to get a bunch of things, but you can definitely find attacks it can go with. Wild Charge as well, some fantastic coverage. I just think it's funny because I always just keep looking at the type charts and stuff for specifically our future Paradox Pokemons. I was way too harsh on the Scarlet Paradoxes. Like, oh my god, it's weak to Fairy and Dragon. Ugh, I hate this. Whereas this is like, okay, well, we're double weak to Ground, double weak to Bug, double weak to Ghost, double to Steel, double to Water, double to Grass, double to Dark. Like, I have learned. I've adapted, but this Pokemon's definitely interesting. I just don't know if there's enough to it to make it really viable.
I think it not having Rock Slide, honestly, I think if it had Rock Slide, people would, you'd run Mighty Cleave and Rock Slide, obviously. You'd run both versions of it. But people would actually click Rock Slide more than they would click they would click Mighty Cleave. Because Zen Headbutt is its psychic attack, and that obviously misses, so you may as well not even run Zen Headbutt. You might as well have coverage like Close Combat or Earthquake or a Terra Blast or something. And then Swords Dance is definitely going to be the most common move. So you can go like Mighty Cleave, Zen Headbutt, or Psycho Cut, whatever psychic attack you want. Swords Dance, Protect, and then I would run Focus Sash or Booster Energy in that slot. Swords Dance, Mighty Cleave is going to be tough because you're really fast and you can't protect in front of it. So It's gonna be pretty nice.
I just think it's so funny that Iron Boulder has quite a few moves that would be increased had it had like if it was sharpness ability, but
Mm-hmm.
since it is a paradox, and of course is going to have quirk drive because it also has access to psycho cut. So there you're going to get your 100% accurate psychic move, 70% base power though, increased crit chance. But if it was a Pokemon with sharpness ability, and then same with this, I already forget the name of it. The really bonkers hit through protect one. Also, if it had sharpness,
Oh, Mighty Cleave, yeah.
yeah, which I think is just kind of funny all around. But I definitely think if this had Rock Slide, it could actually be a pretty scary Pokemon. But for right now, it kind of seems like a one-trick pony. I think that there is going to be ways to try and build something around this, but I think that it is kind of limited and held back by a kind of niche spot.
I would agree. I think no Rock Slide hurts it. That I think we're kind of fortunate it doesn't have it if you think about it, because it'd be really, really frustrating to deal with. And then no, excuse me, no strong 100% accurate psychic physical move hurts. And so the leads to the question: do you like Iron Boulder or Terrakion more? Which version is more viable?
That's interesting because Terrakion, that's actually the one with the beat up strategy where we did get to see it kind of used a bit more in past formats, considering that you're actually already boosting a base 129 attack with a 108 speed, which was actually kind of quirky. And this one actually, like, Terrakion does get access to Rock Slide, so if you're playing with a Whimsicott, you kind of get a couple of boosts, and then you have a decently fast Rock Slide. That could be quite interesting. And it also actually has a move pool.
Yes.
Which
and stab close
doesn't.
Combat also.
Yeah.
If you're +4 attack and you click a stab close combat, something is just being deleted on the other side.
Yeah, I feel like they're both going to be kind of around the same spot in terms of where they'll end up, just because they think they're both in different niches, but I don't think either niche will be too big. But it'll definitely be one of those, if your team can't beat this, it doesn't deserve to be a team. I think I'd be more annoyed to go up against the Iron Boulder. So maybe that's where I'll put that as a little bit better than Terrakion, but I think it's pretty close, and I could definitely be persuaded otherwise.
I think, excuse me, currently, since Tapu Koko and Miraidon and Koraidon are not legal, so there's not easy access to electric terrain. Right now, Terrakion is better. In the future, Iron Boulder with the Quark Drive just gives itself the speed boost inherently, and now you can run Life Orb instead of Booster Energy or something like that. Maybe down the road, Iron Boulder is going to be better. But, excuse me, I've also, most of my testing has been with beat up Terrakion right now, with Whimsicott Terrakion. Like, that's the most games I have on Showdown so far, is with that strategy. What's really funny is I also have Assault Vest Stamina Arch Aladon on that team. So like there have been times where like I lead Terrakion Whimsicott, they have Incineroar or Robe, and I know they're gonna fake out my Terrakion. So I swap in Arch Aladon and then beat up the Arch Aladon, and it's +5 defense on turn 1, and then I just go for body presses. Like it's just such a cool strat. So I was running Clear Amulet on the tracking, because obviously you can't run Focus Sash if you're going to break on your own Sash with the Whimsicott. So that's where I would lean right now. Currently, Regulation F. Down the road might be Iron Boulder's title, but currently I think Terrakion with Stab, Close Combat, and having Rock Slide, and the Whimsicott, the Toracott strat or whatever, makes it better.
Have you not heard, you're talking about Electric Train, have you not heard of our Lord and Savior Pinurchin?
I've heard of, yes, I'm aware of their existence, but their viability is a different conversation. I've not heard that one.
Just throwing that out there. But all right, now for our final of the Violet Paradoxes.
Pokemon.
Definitely not a Pokemon that deserves a royal title, that's for sure. But Iron Crown. Oh, God, the Violet Paradox are just so ugly, frankly. So ugly.
Oh, sorry, we don't get big necks in the olden days.
Not well, like you just look at these two side by side, and if you weren't wearing like proper prescription glasses, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's actually
Well, yeah, that's how they all are. Right? That's how all the violet ones are. Like the
I know,
Iron
and they're
Bundle's
all
it's a
ugly.
more slick version of Delibird,
Yeah, and
right?
they're all ugly.
Iron Jugulus is a more slick version of Hydreigon. Like, that's just how, like, Iron Crown's a more slick, futuristic version of Cobalion. It makes sense.
Yeah, and it's still ugly.
All right,
I
so I
would
do think this is the
okay.
best of the three. Do you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, like even just like the first impression, because the other two, the typings were just absolutely terrible. But this is actually
Wait, hold on. I think I lost you, Sierra.
no. I can hear
You're there?
you.
You're there. Okay, yeah.
I'm
So,
here. Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was actually saying
start
a positive thing. So
start from scratch on your point on Iron Crown. Yep.
honestly, looking at this typing, especially side by side from the other ones, like this typing's actually pretty okay. So weak to ground, ghost, fire, dark. Those are pretty popular types, but it stops there. You don't add like 4 more weaknesses to it. It also resists 9 different types, which is super, super nice. I really like that. And it's immune to poison. So that's kind of nice all things around. The special defense and the defense overall is quite nice, and combined with a good special attack, like there's not anything here that I look at and it's so overly lacking. Like the speed maybe being a little faster would be nice, but it's not bad by any means in that regard.
Yeah, the Steel Psychic, that is the Metagross typing that, has helped make Metagross viable over the last 15 plus years defensively. It's such a strong typing, but Iron Crown is definitely a much more offensive Pokemon. The first thing everybody screams out is Psychic type, Expanding Force. You put it with Indeedee, and you have Booster Energy. Indeedee helps you out, and the Helping Hand Expanding Forces with Stab Psychic and Terra Psychic on top of it, or something like that. And I think that's where most people are gonna go to on Iron Crown. I think it's very one dimensional, but that dimension it's staying in is pretty strong in the size spam dimension.
I do want to call out the signature move of Iron Crown too, because this is one that was previewed at Worlds, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say the name though. Tachyon Cutter.
I think it's
Tachyon Cutter. It's
Cutter.
It's the multi-hit steal move. It bypasses accuracy. It does a lot of damage. Also, funny enough, which I'm curious why they do this. Yet again, another move that if used by a Pokemon with sharpness, its power is increased. All of the Violet paradoxes do that, even though none of them have that.
You can't skill swap Cork Drive and Prosynthesis. You're not able to. It's not you could even use Glade and skill swap your sharpness over. Like, no, you can't get rid of Cork Drive. It fails.
Like if they made these exclusive moves that could only be used by these one Pokemon, but they did call out if used with sharpness, its power increase. So I'm curious if that does mean in the future that there is going to be alternate abilities. I don't know, speculation, just calling that out. But I think that move is actually just insane, and overall, like being able to double hit, I think is just kind of nice, all things considered, because Focus Sashes suck.
Yeah, obviously the first thing you think of is Mimikyu, breaking Mimikyu with hitting with the steel. But really, competitively for us, it's the anti-Chien Pao attack, as you're going to hit it super effectively, bring it down to its sash, and then knock it out with that second hit there. So definitely anybody running Iron Crown out there should be Expanding Force, Tachyon Cutter, and Protect. I guess you could have a question on if you want boost energy on special attack or speed, because you might not need the speed since Indeedee can redirect stuff away. But then again, if Indeedee gets knocked out, then you want the speed to be faster. I'm having a tough time coming up with a fourth move, because you can go for Calm Mind, you can go for Agility, you can go for some other things. The other thing I thought of is just like Focus Blast. Honestly, like I don't whatever. You just try to Focus Blast an Incineroar. Like that's like really your best chance at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're pretty much on a Psy Spam team. If you ever played Armourouge and DD, you just change Armourouge into this Iron Crown, and you click Expanding Force every turn. I guess you could do a single target psychic attack also if you wanted, but yeah, very one-dimensional, but definitely strong. And I don't even know if we need to ask this question, Sierra, on if it's more viable than Cobalion.
First off, I do think Focus Blast is kind of funny because having a way to actually hit Incineroar, considering Incineroar is such a great Psy Spam answer, having a way to actually hit into that, pretty nice. I'll take that roll any day. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, definitely think that this is better than Cobalion. Yet again, it's just Cobalion is just such a niche thing, and sure, this is going on Psy Spam, that's still its own, only exists in an archetype, but Psy Spam is just a more successful archetype that's a little bit more played and a little, I think, just better than any beat up strategies. So I think, yeah, easy Iron Crown takes the crown.
Yay, there it is. Yeah.
That was so bad.
There will definitely be some Psy Spam Iron Crown teams in Portland. Like, that is a strategy you have to be prepared for. So yeah. Take notes, Sierra.
Okay. I do because I played that the tour that was tonight and I got absolutely wrecked. So there's notes I'm gonna be taking, that's for sure.
Has anyone beaten you harder than the Ogerpon Cornerstone has, or is Cornerstone still up in the top slot of like worst feels? Has some other Pokemon taken the worst feels moment from Cornerstone?
I still don't even think that was the worst feels moment. I'm trying to think though. I'm just like, I don't know. I'd have to really sit and think about that one. I don't have as much VGC experience as others, like actually playing, so I don't have as many bad beat stories. But
well, while you think of that, let's segue to our next OHKO team that we're gonna have help from our Discord community making, and we don't have the poll set right now because we have to decide which 4 Pokemon we're going to put onto this poll. And Sierra came up with an interesting way to start out with these 6 new Paradox Pokemon and get it down to 4.
Yeah, so essentially we have 6. Let's just take away 2 of them. So both of us are going to veto a Pokemon that we personally just do not want, because like we have opinions too, as if you couldn't tell. We're 2 people yelling over the internet on a podcast. We obviously have opinions. So opinions too on what Pokemon we do and do not want to be building around. So since I came up with the idea, you have to veto the first Pokemon out of the 6.
Ooh. Now, this is so tough because like Iron Leaves is just right there. But wouldn't it be so funny if like both of us leave it on the list? Like nobody's gonna pick Iron Leaves, and then the poll is like 78% Iron Leaves. I don't know if we can. I don't want to take that risk, so I'm vetoing Iron Leaves. We had this Hisuian Typhlosion issue the last time around, so I don't want to have Iron Leaves do the same thing.
Sure, that is a good call, because I definitely wouldn't have vetoed it, but I definitely don't want to be building around it.
Yeah.
But that's because I instead want to veto Raging Bolt. I think it is a very strong Pokemon. I think it is a more one-dimensional Pokemon that I don't think is going to get very innovative with team building, to where I don't think it's going to be fun to team build around when it's the OHKO team, something that we're looking to have a little bit of fun. These are teams that, hey, maybe they're not going to get top cut a regional. Maybe they are. Maybe we do make a fire team. But it's something that, hey, you can go play for a fun tournament if you want, or we'll play for a caster battle. So I think Raging Bolt just kind of goes against what I like about the OHKO team. So
I think it's a great point, because like the Pheasantipity team, we made the whole team work around Pheasantipity, and like you could tell how everything was designed. And if we made a Raging Bolt team, it would just be like a Good Stuffs team that has Raging Bolt on it. Like you wouldn't feel like the team is built around Raging Bolt's success the way Pheasantipity was. So I think it's a good call.
Yeah, so that's it. So the other ones that people will be able to vote for in the poll will be Walking Wake, Gouging Fire, Iron Boulder, I'm trying to remember all the names now, and Iron Crown. So we'll post that on Twitter as well in our Discord. Make sure to vote while you can, because that will be the team that we're all trying to build together for the next couple of weeks. And hey, maybe we do build an absolute fire team.
Maybe I'll bring it to Charlotte. Maybe I'll play with it in Charlotte,
There you go. I just booked my plane tickets to Liverpool, so maybe I'll take it to Liverpool, right? So Not for Portland, though. I don't think we're going to be able
Not
to
for
build a
Portland.
team
We're
in
not
time
gonna
for
have our team
Portland.
ready. Yeah, OHKO team doesn't work that
Yeah.
quickly. You know.
No. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. We gotta chill a little bit, you know. So
All right. So, speaking of Portland, that will be the first Regulation F tournament, and I think we don't need to spend too much time on this year because we're going to have the next 4 months to talk about Regulation F. But just getting in, have you been playing either on Showdown or playing on Battle Stadium, and what are some of your initial thoughts with these new Pokemon, these returning Pokemon, how the format feels in general?
So I'm in that weird position to where I actually still have Regulation E competitions before Portland. So I'm going to be heading out to Seattle for a PC and an MSS, and they're before the first, so they're going to be Regulation E. So I actually haven't gotten to test too much for Portland. I don't do well with changing formats, so I'm pretty concerned for myself at this point. I'm not going to lie. But that also just leaves me not really too much information about Regulation F because I haven't been looking at it. I did play it for that one tour. I brought Joe Ugarte's team. I'm probably just playing it wrong. Entei just wasn't doing the damage I wanted it to. It just kind of hit like a wet noodles at times. I'm like, oh, this E-Speed should definitely get this KO. This thing's kind of just barely clinging on to life, and E-Speed whiffs the KO by a significant amount, which is crazy to say because that Pokemon did not have a significant amount of HP, but I'm still whiffing KOs, so
You
it's
need
just
the
kind
Tien
of...
Pao next to it.
Yeah, no, it just, I don't know. It's early format. Things are weird. Even the tour that was happening, there was like a bunch of Delibird teams because there's a charity thing and a prize for the highest placing Delibird team. And Regulation F is in a spot right now where people are losing to these Delibird teams too. There was a Delibird team at 4-0. Sempra lost to a Delibird team at 3-0. So it's like, it's just the weird stuff. So I don't know how I feel yet.
Okay. I think that's fair. If you got some reggae matches you want to stay focused on, that definitely makes sense. Me, I've just been going off the deep end into Regulation F. I've been texting back and forth with Jake. We've been trying to build teams and just going back and forth on ideas with some other friends that I like team building with. And I've been watching a lot of streams and been playing a lot. And I think the opinion that, like, I don't even know if Incineroar is the best Pokemon in the format because I so highly rate Landorus Incarnate. It's
so
like
good.
unbelievable. I think this might be the best format Lando I has had since, like, I don't know, 2013 or 2012 or something like that. Like, it has truly been a long time since Lando I has been considerably stronger than Lando T in a format before. And it's true. It's strictly because of terrestrialization. Like, the Earth Power, Sandseer Storm, Sludge Bomb, and Terra Poison coverage is just incredible right now. I built a team, like I built that tracking team I was telling you about, and like, just naturally, okay, I got Incineroar, and I got Terrakion, and I have Whimsicott, and Archaludon. I'm like, let me throw Ogerpon Wellspring for Follow Me out there. But it was like, 5 of my Pokemon can't even exist with Landorus Incarnate on the field. It just completely sleeps it. So it's just really well poised right now. Like, I would fully expect that a Lando I team is the favorite to win Portland right now, unless somebody figures it out. The other thing that's been really fun to test out is Latios and Latias. Latias has been more supportive with like Tailwind and Recover and stuff like that. But Latios I've been having fun with. They buff their old psychic attacks. They increase them like by 15 base power. I think Latios at 110 speed, like clicking Draco, it like feels like the old days clicking, clicking Draco on Latios and just one-shotting things. So yeah, I've been using the Psychic Attack, Draco, Ice Beam, Protect on the Latios sets. And then I'm still a Whimsicott believer. People call me crazy. Like, I got into a discussion with some friends about it, and they're like, "Oh, it just dies to Tornadus," and it's like, okay, but there are other Pokemon, like we always say, oh, you can't use this as Dazzler or Shifu. Well, Hisui and Arcanine died to Shifu, right? And it won every event except for one in North America. So, like, you can't just use that as a de facto, like, oh, Bleakwind Storm. It's like, well, one, you can invest enough into your defense, your special defense and HP on Whimsicott so that Bleakwind Storm does not one-shot, especially when Tornadus don't invest in the special attack. It's not an OHKO. So you're fine there. It's faster, so you will always taunt the Tornadus before it gets to Tailwind. And they always go Terra Ghost or Terra Steel and stuff. They're not Terra Dark, so they're never going to be able to stop your Prankster. So I still think there's a world for Whimsicott. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I gotta try to figure out what world to use it over Tornadus, but yeah, if I'm playing in Charlotte, like I very much want to have Whimsicott on my team in Charlotte.
I think Whimsicott was the only team that I beat today in my 1-3 tournament run. So take that as you will. Now, I definitely do think that there is a world that it can exist. I think that overall, if you're just like, I need a Tailwind user, that Torn's going to be better. But I do think that there's going to be the teams where Whimsicott, like, they'll just be able to offer a couple of different options that you wouldn't be able to get. Having the faster, like, taunt option consistently, not just speed tying and just kind of praying that you get it, I definitely do think is nice. It's just how much you want to be going for that. So yeah, I definitely do think that there's some fun team building options. I definitely got I did actually run Latias in the tour as well. I kind of forgot it was a dragon type. Kinda didn't Terra Poison it in front of Fluttermane and kinda got absolutely like one-shot bodied. So I wouldn't be able to speak on how good they are, but it looks like it could have been good, you know.
if it was a poison type, it would have been good, you know.
If I was smart enough to Terra it probably would have been amazing, but like.
Oh, that's the other reason I like the Lotties, because they're basically, I'm like working on a team right now, and I'm like, all right, I just keep losing to Lando Eye. I need a Levitator that can also handle Lando when it terrors into poison, and that's why Latios works, because it's Levitate, immune to Bleakwind's, not Bleakwind, Sandstorm, Storm, Earth Power, whatever. And then once it becomes a poison type, I hit it super effectively with the Psychic attack. So that's another reason to run the Lotties. Yeah,
they definitely see the Lotties are always like good enough. So I think they'll be good right now. I feel like in Dynamax it was kind of weird sometimes because they say body them, but I think right now is a good spot. So I'm definitely looking forward to team building more going into things, because I do think that there is quite a few fun options to where we're not going to get that stale second half of regulation Torner, Shifu, yada 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 over and over.
I don't know. I like your optimism, but I definitely think there's a world that half the top good teams are Torn or Shifu, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Lando Eye. Like 5 of the set, and then you just slap a 6th spot on, maybe Latias or something like that. I think there's actually a really, really likely world that that's what Portland turns into.
So I'm not the biggest hater of teams being similar, as long as the gameplay between those teams is still fun and interesting. Torn or Shifu I didn't like because it was just like, or like Tailwind Mirrors, like I don't like because it's just like, let's just hit things. So if you have like a format that's dominated by a team that does that, it's no fun. But if it's like, oh, the popular team is like, you have a little bit more control over a round, it's going to be actually interesting gameplay. Like you can go back on a lot of old VGC matches and it's like, okay, these teams are similar, but these matches are actually kind of low-key fire. So I feel like calling like the end of Regulation E boring with how things were similar, super valid. But I don't think things being similar all the time is actually the worst thing, and you have to look at like the nuances past that.
Well, whatever your first regional you're casting in Regulation F, I hope you enjoy your round 5 match with Incineroar swap in, Incineroar fake out, Incineroar parting shot, into Rillaboom swap in, into Rillaboom fake out, into Rillaboom U-turn, into Iron Hand swap in, into fake out, and Incineroar's back on the field and he faked out and parting shot it again. I hope you enjoy that match very much, because you say, oh, it's not going to be as boring or whatever. I wish you luck, Sierra.
Hey, I feel like that's interesting, because if things are constantly like rotating out, it's because you're trying to position to a certain board state. So assumingly the opponent's on the other end to like kind of counter and do stuff, where it's so much more fun than the Dondozo mirrors where you're sitting there and it's like, well, we're going to attack, rest, Sleep talk, see what it rolls. Sleep talk, see what it rolls. All right, attack. Okay, like it's like that. I just don't think is much fun.
Yeah,
Whereas,
but we hardly have Nandozo on stream anymore,
yeah,
You're going
but
to have
like,
Tornarchi Rillaboom on stream every single round.
we'll see. Well, after the first event, we'll talk about it. We'll bring up specifically this conversation. Be like, so Sierra, how was casting that round 7, all the way to time, all 3
Mirror
games match?
yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get the thoughts then.
Okay,
So
that sounds good. Yeah.
yeah.
So for anyone interested, we're both very excited for Regulation F, for the potential of the format.
Yes, but we're talking about stuff that's happening in the new year, of course. That's because this year coming to an end. So you actually had the idea of some New Year's resolutions for the next year.
Yeah, so I thought we can have some general New Year's resolutions for us as well, like in real life. But let's have some New Year's Pokemon resolution or VGC resolutions. So these could be things for us individually that we want to accomplish as either a trainer or a caster or something like that, or just general things that we want VGC as a whole and the community as a whole to accomplish for our New Year's Pokemon resolutions. So I'll go first, and I'll say for the community, since my resolution is I am hoping that we get a regional that has over 1,000 Masters players at the regional. We've gotten close. We've had some like 824s and some 850s and stuff. Like I want 1,000 like after the drops. You know what I mean? So like 1,100 and it stays above 1,000. That's my resolution.
Are we even at a point where we have enough Hori stands dedicated to one organizer to where that's even feasible?
I guess we'll find out. I don't know. We got close in Charlotte and Orlando last year, so
yeah,
they were both like around 800.
This year's been a little funky with the Hori stands. That's because that'd be super super cool. Don't get me wrong. Like the Tommy Tour that was happening tonight, I think before drops was at like 950 or something, which is incredible, right? So that would definitely be cool. What do I want for a community thing?
What would you like to see us as a community succeed at in your New Year's resolution?
I would say being more welcoming to newer players getting into the game, because it's, first off, we can't grow the game without newer players being more involved in stuff, but I feel like it's still kind of difficult sometimes for newer players to kind of feel like they're getting involved or participating well. I feel like content creation and the fact that things are online now can definitely kind of help in that sense a lot more, but sometimes it still can be a little bit more difficult. So I feel like just being more welcoming to the fact that different strategies are used, the fact that different people have different learning curves, or there is some people that do just want to go to a regional and play their matches and are not being competitive, but that being understood and being okay by someone who is there to play competitive, like both can coexist. We can all be good on that aspect, right? So let's be kind to one another, We all have to sit there and play the same event. Like, why are you just going out there and make enemies?
I definitely agree with you. I also like to tack onto your resolution, putting another bullet point onto it. Like, I would like, as a community, if we stop acting like going 5-4 is like you should just like end your career and you should be so embarrassed with yourself and it's the worst performance ever. I've gotten into fights with people out in the crowd when they like want to off themselves because they went 5-4 and all these, I missed points, I didn't make day 2, bro. It's like, shut up. You literally did better than statistically more than half, not just half, more than half of the field. Like, you had fun. You played Pokemon. Sure, okay, you didn't win the regional. Fine, whatever. But, like, and I'm sure you have friends that act like this too when they go 5-4. Like, this ideology we have in the community that, like, I'd rather go 0-9 than 5-4 or whatever, it's just, like, it has to stop because there's nothing wrong with going 5-4. You did more better than bad on average. Stop being a baby.
See, my thing is like, if someone wants to be disappointed in their own personal performance, more than fine. If somebody wants to be disappointed they went 5-4, you know what, you're entitled to that, whatever.
But it was
My
like
thing
I
is,
was dog water today. I went 5-4 because then how do all the 4 wins and less players? How are they supposed to feel if that's what you say 5-4 is?
my thing is, you whatever. Sure, people can also just be better with the words that they're using at events. But whatever. That isn't the point I'm trying to get into. Mine is to focus on like your stuff, but not be shaming others for how they want to play. So there's quite a few ways where people will judge how others play the game, whether it's the Pokemon that they want to be bringing, whether you're using a more common strategy, or shaming people who don't want to be going into that. But then people who don't want to play like the meta strategies, like they'll also be shaming people for playing meta strategies. And competitive people will shame people who are playing casual, and casual will shame people who want to go to every event. And it's like, just play the game how you want. If you want to show up to your 1 to 2 regionals that you've practiced with this team with, just don't focus on what X player over there is doing. Like, focus on like your what do you want out of the event? Enjoy that, you know? And same thing, if there you have Mr. Competitive Andy over there who's like not happy unless they go 8-1 on day 1, the focus on yourself. Don't care if somebody's bringing a team of off meta Pokemon or whatever. Like, people will be like, "Oh, well, I got beat by this casual, or I got beat by this odd team," and they're like mad. And it's like, no, just focus on yourself. Like, just everyone's out there to play Pokemon. Let everyone play Pokemon and be happy and be merry. Like, it's not that hard. Why does it have to be a big thing? Like, realistically, if you think that you can beat every casual out there, be welcoming some more of them in the game so you can go 8-1 easier. I don't know what to tell
So
you.
you can face more casuals. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't know. Like, why? And like, those people are like, what if somebody shows up to their first event? That's how they decide that they love the game, and then they're going to be playing more and getting better. Like, it's how the game grows, frankly. So let's all respect how others want to play the game, and shut up and mind your business and play your game. Easy.
That's fair.
Easy.
And stop crying when you
Easy.
go 5-4. Like, also, I like, oh, I was terrible. I was 6-3. Like, I just want to choke you. Like, no, sure, you could be bummed that you didn't day 2. You can be disappointed with yourself, but stop. You're making an objective statement. I was terrible. I went 6-3, and that's just not founded in any reality.
So it depends, because
No, it doesn't. 6-3. You're in the top 33% of all players that went there.
No, but if you're an Olympic athlete that can realistically be like number 1 in every race, and then all of a sudden you show up to a race and you're like at half of your pace and you just like trip over something, you can be upset that you weren't at your peak performance. People are allowed to be upset. I also do think that
I'm saying you can be upset. You can be bummed with yourself. But when you make an objective statement saying, I did trash and you finished 6-3, that's not true. It's not your result that you wanted, but it's not true that 6-3 or 5-4 is trash.
Oh, well, it might be trash for them, which I still think is like fine. I think if they're shaming others for going 5-4 and 6-3, that is terrible. If somebody wants to say like they were trash because you also don't know how those games went, whatever. Like, I think if they're like loudly announcing it around the venue, or if they're ever shaming others, that is kind of where I have the issue. But if someone wants to sit there and just be like, "Yo, I was terrible. I went 6-3," and just like, you know what? Sure, you sucked. That's what I'm gonna tell people now. Oh, I went 6-3. I'm so bad at the game. Yeah, you kind of suck, dude.
Yeah, actually, I was actually just gonna bring up how dog water you are. I'm glad you said it before I did.
Okay, don't actually do that to your friends.
No, never do that. All right, let's
don't actually do that.
So I'll do a personal. I don't know, you can do if you have a personal Pokemon goal for yourself too. So my New Year's resolution, because I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to actually play events. At first, I was like, I'd like to top cut a PC or an MSS or something. I don't know if I have as much time, but I think it's easier for me to show up and like help judge an event. So my goal, not like a regional or something like that, but like I have, there's a lot in New York, New Jersey, and stuff. Like, my goal is I'm hoping I can like judge 3 PCs or MSSs or something this year. Just something light. I know it's harder for me to play like with timing wise, so it's just easier to jump into that. And I don't need to play. I don't want to take up another slot from someone who's trying to earn championship points and stuff. So that's my personal player quote unquote goal, since I don't want to play as much, is to judge 3 PCs or more.
See, I did a lot of thinking about this resolution. So for myself, for resolutions and goals, I've tried moving away from results oriented into something else. Because let's say for like weight loss example, if you're like, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds, but you're going to get demotivated all of a sudden if you're not seeing that results. But if you then instead make your motivation, well, I'm going to run 3 times a week. Like if you're
Right.
that you actually have control over, so you could actually probably get the result you want without that lack of motivation. So originally I was kind of thinking stuff like win an MSS, like get my Worlds invite. But instead, I think I want to do the stuff I can focus on. I want to team build more, and I want to start actually working with more people and other people about team building and being a more independent thinker in the game as opposed to just kind of following strategies that others have laid down for me. Like, I actually want to contribute more. I don't think I'm bad at the game, but I definitely kind of struggle to see things kind of in my own way. And I have a lot of self-doubt about things as a result of that. Like, even the games that I was playing in the tournament today, my gut check right away was, hey, I need to do this play. And I talked myself out of it because I was like, well, others would tell me to probably do this or to like think about this. And every single time I talked myself out of it. So I do want to make sure that I'm better about working with more people. I already took a step towards that today, and I ended up asking somebody. I didn't team build for my PC and MSS in Seattle. Don't get me wrong. I still have a lot of work on my team building, but I did ask someone else who I actually haven't worked with before if I could use their team. I was like, yo, it's the end of Regulation E. I know you're not competing. Do you mind if I use this? And they were like, oh, if you need matchup help, like, let me know. So I'm going to work on it and maybe like ask them. So I was proud of myself because it's not just like Joe Garte's taught me so much about the game, but it's like for myself, like I need to work with like others as well. Or when everyone's getting together for a, hey, we're all playing games and having each other watch, like actually participate, do more.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that because I think that'll help me achieve the playing goals that I would like to get. So,
well, I wish you luck in your team building adventures. I've always said I enjoy team building more than actually playing the game. So if you ever, just want to message me any questions, let me know.
when
I
are we
will
getting
say,
the me, you, and Jake group chat for the team building?
dude, we might need it for Charlotte. We might need all hands on deck at this point. So,
yeah.
I will say your New Year's resolution is very fortunate that we vetoed Iron Leaves because like if Iron Leaves won the poll and you're like, I want to be more involved in team building, like you might have been the person that stops going to the gym on January 2nd. If Iron Leaves was the first Pokemon you would have to team build around. So I think you're pretty lucky there.
Oh yeah.
And then I have another one, and it's Pokemon related, is I would like to stream more. And I don't know if it's necessarily VGC or like other Pokemon things, like even Pokemon Unite. And like I would like to stream VGC, but sometimes VGC is really tough to stream for like 4 hours. Like as you know, it's very taxing mentally. So I give credit to Joe and Lorcy and Mark Jackson and all the people that are able to consistently stream like that. But I definitely want to just stream in general more this year. Just stop putting it off and be like, oh, no one's gonna watch, or like, oh, I only have 2 hours. Like that's 2 hours more than 0, which is what I'm currently doing now. So I got to get on that streaming grind this season.
I'm sure there's definitely gonna, because you're like, oh, no one will watch. There'll be people from OHKO that'll come hang out as you're playing games. I'll pop by and I'll leave a lurk. I don't like talking to Twitch chats, but I'll go and leave a lurk. But it is definitely hard to start streaming. Like there's, especially too, because I have streamed for a while, the amount of people that have told me like, I would like to, I just struggle with where to start, or I've had one stream, but I just can't do it again. Like, you're not alone in that, but I believe in you. Let's go.
Thank you.
I believe. We also wanted to do one more, like, kind of like our own.
Not Pokemon related.
One. Yeah, not Pokemon related. So for myself, I want to start doing other things at events with all the traveling that I'm doing to try and build better memories. So not that the memories that I have at regionals are bad. Like there's definitely been so many fun memories of like everyone getting together, but it's always the same thing. Everyone's getting together at a restaurant, everyone's together at a bar, everyone's together at the hotel lobby. And it's still a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but being able to like, oh, is there a concert in the area? Is there a sports game in the area? Is there something else happening in this cool area that I am so fortunate to travel to for Pokemon that I could be doing, and making a better habit of doing that as opposed to just like the once in the oddball like event, right? So I want to try and be better about that.
Okay, I think that's doable. We can make it happen. You missed out on seeing the Lakers in San Antonio. That could have been a fun one for you. But maybe are like the Canucks.
That's actually, I've been
town?
looking into it. That one, like Saturday they play at 7. I don't think people
I
are
don't know if we can make it.
It's a
Depends.
little tough, but I don't know. Maybe I'll kind of scope out the couple of events before Vancouver and see what time we end playing, because that would be in VGC. I don't know. It could be fun.
We could probably make the second period onward.
Yeah, but that would definitely be a fun one. I've looked at concerts and stuff, but that one's just, it's so hard to like also figure out. It's tough, but I definitely, that's a goal. That's a goal.
Okay. I think it's a doable goal. We can make that work. My non-Pokemon New Year's resolution for me is, a lot of people know, I'm, trying to become a more well-rounded caster and do commentary in more games than just Pokemon. And so my goal is to get paid to cast something not Pokemon related this year. And so I don't just mean like $5 for casting a best of 5 from my house in League, like actually like a League of Legends collegiate event where like I fly to Chicago and cast, or like another game comes up and I actually leave my house and cast an official event and stuff. So like I'm always on the commentary grind, always trying to improve my skills in as many games as I can. So hopefully this year will be the year I can actually receive, even if it's a small amount, like even if it's just a free hotel room and whatever, like get paid services for a non-Pokemon commentary gig.
You got to get that reel together, not just like a temporary one, like a good reel together.
Well, I have like a million reels. I have a reel every year since 2017. I've made one.
You got to advertise it more, because I've never seen it advertised.
You're in the photo of the one.
Where is this
It's my header.
Joe Brown?
It's my header on Twitter.
That's a photo, not a reel.
No. The tweet. The tweet. If you go, literally go to my Twitter right now, my whatever you call that, the one that's like your locked, like your first tweet is my reel.
Oh, like the thing.
Your pinned tweet. That's what I was saying. My pinned tweet is my commentary reel. See?
That is true. I am in the picture.
You are in the picture.
Yeah. All right. Well, advertise better. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Half kidding, but no, I think that's a good goal. That'll definitely be tough. I mean, I know that you can talk to me about that stuff, because we definitely have, but you also know that esports is tough. But I definitely do think that's considering like how much experience you have, like it is doable. I do think it is really just about the advertising. As much as I am like talking about this twin tweet, I do think that is like the next step, but I do think that is, considering your experience, super doable. You just need more people to know who you are, frankly.
Yeah. You're always pushing me, and I'm like, I don't want to bother them, but you're like, just do it. And like,
Yeah, message the people. You gotta be annoying about it. That's how people get to know who you are. So that.
Oh, that's an annoying guy. I like him,
Yo, I'm just saying, for my very, very first Valorant opportunity, I messaged, I think it was like the 3rd time, and I just kept being like, hey, like, I am a Pokemon commentator, like, this is a video of what I've done, I play Valorant since beta, like, I want to do this, and they kept passing me up, and then finally they took it seriously, and they're like, oh my god, we actually really like you, we have a duo that you can have right away, and then I got picked up for, like, all the Valorant stuff. Like, it's just, it's what it takes to get through the door sometimes, Don't be super annoying, but like if they don't know who you are, you're never gonna get picked. So if anybody's listening to this and you need a caster for any TFT, League of Legends, not Pokemon, also Pokemon, but we already said the goal is outside of Pokemon. But you need a well-rounded caster that can do play-by-play commentary and or hosting, you can hit up Joe Brown. Wow, insane, super cool. If you know of opportunities, send them his way. Unless you think it's an opportunity for me, and then send it my way,
Then
because
send
I
it,
also need to get paid.
If you need to be cozy, comfort, whatever the thing is, send it Sierra's way.
Oh, the
What was
Cozy
your thing?
Clash?
Yeah, Cozy Clash.
Yeah, at the Complexity Headquarters. That was a fun event. We got to wear sweaters all weekend. Dan Silly wore a an alien dinosaur onesie. I don't know. We had fun. It was a great time. But yeah, the Cozy Clash, powered by Lenovo Legion. Yeah.
There you
But,
go.
yeah, I think that's a
I
good
think
step.
we're ready for the new year. I think we're resolute in our positions.
Yeah, and I'm gonna as well in the Discord. This was something I did in my my own Discord for my like content creation and stuff. But every year we did a channel where what I really like to do was, instead of making a goal, do a word that kind of encapsulates what you want the year to be. And then at the end of like a week or two, lock the channel so nobody can see it, and then unlock it at the end of 2024. So everyone could kind of go back. So if you're like, oh, mine is growth, I want to put more effort towards this, and kind of explain what the word means to you. We can even just do it with straight resolutions. Like, that's also chill. But the whole point of locking the channel, nobody can see it, bring it back in a year, kind of see where
That's a
things
pretty
have
cool
gone.
idea, actually.
So we'll do that in the OHKO server too. I know I didn't ask you, but
No, I'm down.
let's do it. Yeah. But that will be for after this goes live. But before we end off, we do have our question of the week that we have to do. Let me pull up our Discord server where we ask for our questions. So this one is going to be from B-Wing. So originally I liked this question from Moggy, which was, how would you feel that there isn't a way to get 0 IVs on a Pokemon? I feel like for our sake, we shouldn't answer that one. But we're gonna answer B-Wing's question. Which of the new Paradox Pokemon will have the most success in competitive best of 3 tournaments? Which I think this is interesting because competitive, so I would assume anything that has points or stake on the line. Best of 3 as well is very then more like not like a more championship point based system where we do have best of 3s, as opposed to the Japan ranking system, which is best of 1s, I believe, up to a certain point, because there is a difference in that team building as well. So
right, absolutely. This is a very interesting question because it's not just clear cut. Like we talked about the 6 new Paradox Pokemon. There are results of like the Paradox is better than the original or vice versa, but it's not like one of these 6 is clearly better. Like the one jumping out is Raging Bolt is generally better, right? But does that mean it's going to be more successful than, say, Iron Crown, which is exceptionally strong at its one thing? Like, I think that's where this conversation can be pretty interesting.
See, for me, I just think it's Raging Bolt all the way. I think that's no ifs, ands, or buts. I think Size Spam is a format. I do think that it will get better because of Iron Crown. Don't get me wrong. I just do still think that it's held back by being quite limiting in what it does, considering you're building around a certain thing, to where it's not actually good. Iron Crown, even if it's going to be on every successful Size Spam team, that those Size Spam teams aren't going to be overall as successful as the teams that will utilize Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt's just really, really strong, especially when you're looking at things like Urshifu, Torn, all these other things, to where it'll just be Raging Bolt.
Yeah, I think probably like going into Portland and Charlotte and whatever that, Knoxville, I want to say like those first couple of regionals, I would imagine Raging Bolt would have the highest usage out of these 6 Pokemon, right? So like is that the determining factor? Is that the most viable if it's on the most teams that are playing in a competitive environment? But like I think by the end of the format, people are going to figure out a way to make Walking Wake work better than Raging Bolt, I think. So, like right now, I'd say Raging Bolt is probably 1. Like going into Portland, it'll be the highest usage. But I think by the end of Regulation F, Walking Wake will be the best of these 6 new Paradoxes.
I think Walking Wake, once we get a restricted format with Groudon, I think Walking Wake will clear every single one.
That's a great point. That is a great point.
I just don't think we have, because I think what it offers is insane. I just don't think Regulation F has enough to offer Walking Wake to make it successful. So I think maybe some people might figure it out, or it might be kind of niche. Maybe you'll see like those Sun users actually be able to utilize it, but I just don't think Sun's going to be in the greatest place until we get restricted backs. And then Walking Wake, oh my god, that'll be insane because you get powered up by the Sun, but you can also then be hitting super effective into the other Sun users, which like into the opposing ground-ons, but then also you're going to be resisting Kyogre. Like I don't know, it just seems fantastic. But that'll be a regulation G or whatever issue.
Yeah, it's so funny that like there feels like there's like 20 Pokemon waiting for Tapu Koko to come back, and then there's also 20 Pokemon waiting for Groudon to come back. And, you know, they'll just be like the heroes, where we're so used to them being like meta dominant, but now it's like, oh, the prodigal son has returned, and we're just like flipping history, where most of them it's like, oh my god, so many Groudons. And now it's like, where's our Groudon? We need Groudon.
Oh, there's definitely people listening to this that are like, oh, Groudon, or like, oh my god, like we just only got Incineroar back, and now we're talking about Groudon, Kyogre that were everywhere. Like, yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, Walking Wake is just a cool Pokemon. It's just not its time. It'll have its time. Not yet.
I think, you know, and I also gotta say, it's hot take. I think Gouging Fire's head is weird. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think Gouging Fire looks as cool as Walking Wake and Raging Bolt do.
I feel
it's
like
weird
they kind of just ran out of ideas. Yeah, I don't understand the name, and I don't understand the headpiece. The other two Pokemon. Oh, isn't it just like one of those Pokemon that has the huge, whatever, like one of those dinosaurs that has a huge plate at its head? I don't know, but
I'll take your word. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is a dinosaur that has like a plate at the front of its head that then maybe Gouging Fire is based off of, but it just looks so bland and uninspired in comparison to Walking Wake and Raging Bolt. So, it could have been cool.
I think it was just important for us to note that it does not look as cool as the other two.
Yeah. Is that one go for it? Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just kind of, I'm like looking like deep into it now. Yeah, I don't know. If anyone remembers what dinosaur this is based off of, just like throw that in the comments.
It's whatever. It tastes cooler anyway.
Yeah, the other two paradoxes are cooler, but they're all better than the Violet paradoxes, that's for sure. But before we go down that rabbit hole yet again, good time to end this off. Yay, nay.
Yeah, you know, we tried to have a quick hour-long episode, and you know, I think we definitely did not succeed. So,
usual, because we spent like an hour talking about paradox Pokemon and whether they could or could not exist in the same thing. But yeah, we definitely lost a forever listener after that one. That is for certain. Like they're just sitting there, shut up already, and they're gone. But for anyone else who made it to this point, thank you so much for listening. Make sure, especially so you can get your votes in, to be checking us out on Twitter, X, whatever, as well as the Discord to make sure you can vote for that OHKO team. As well, we do build other teams in the Discord and just chat about Pokemon in general. So even joining the Discord for that, great time. Maybe you can find someone to give you a Walking Wake or a Raging Bolt for the next competition. I don't know. But thanks again so much for listening. We will catch you all next week. I hope you all are having your happy holidays, happy end of December, whatever it is. I still hope it's great. See you next week.